I did want to start by just saying very simply that we've updated the list of high frequency indicators. We've been talking about 4 indicators to date. I'm going to add a couple more. The 4 indicators we've been talking about to date all are getting better and better and better. Actually, let me back up just one second. So I've got Scott here, Sarah here, John here, and Gail here. So if we have any operational questions or market-oriented questions or administrative questions, we can answer whatever questions people have, and we're happy to go into those. And as we've done this every week for almost 2 months now, in addition to the coffee Q&A, in addition to the webinars originally and the original videos, we've consistently gone back and looked at with just a very quick economic update, and then talked about some of the potential expectations. And I think that some of the thoughts we've had early on about, the idea, and Scott was the one that talked about this originally, the idea that there's going to be a lot of different states that do this a different way. And when those states do this a different way, it's going to lead to economic activity. And so as a state opens up, we're going to see some economic activity, and that's going to lift the national economic activity lever just a little bit. And then another state is going to see that, and are going to have businesses that are going to compete with each other to push their states to open up. And we saw this with Elon Musk last week, who basically, the state of California said, nope, you can't open up. Or actually there was the county of Alameda said you can't open up. And maybe the state said it as well, but he said, nope, I'm opening up. And if we can't open up, we're going to move to Texas. And California folded and said, okay, open up. And that's, that kind of thing is the kind of thing we're going to see on a state-by-state basis. And it's going to push us to open up the economy a little bit faster than I think that some folks want, but slower than I think that other folks want. So going back to those 4 high frequency indicators, we'll add 2 more to them. The first is TSA checkpoints. The TSA checkpoints are, I think in the last month, there were 284,000 passengers on flights. I have heard anecdotally that there's still a lot of flights that are flying that are pretty empty, but there are flights, aside from if you have 3 seats, the middle seat is always empty now. It's taped off, but there are flights that are full, and we're still 90% down from our highs, but we've definitely started to fly again. Year over year, in-room diners. Now we've got to remember, every single state was off 100%. And now there are states that are only off 75%. California and New York are still off 100%. That's the 2 places where you have the most shutdown and the most rigorous shutdown right now. But there are places like Texas, they're only off 75%. So they were down 100%. Now they've come back substantially to where fewer people at the same time are eating in restaurants. Gross movie sales, still absolutely zero. Nothing, no movement there. They're still all basically closed. Hotel occupancy. So we were just beginning to pick up. Now we're actually only off 56%. And we're talking, this is a month. It went to 0, and now we're only off about 56%. Here's the next 2 we're going to add to the list. And if I can hear a little bit of crackle there, so if you're speaking and you're unmuted, please do mute yourself. So gas consumption was off 50%. Now it's off 20%. So people are definitely moving around, and that's a good sign, I guess. People are driving, going places. And then here's the most interesting one to me, and this is the Apple mobility statistics. So Apple actually tracks us all, so does Google, on all of our phones. And the mobility statistics are interesting. What they're saying is driving is basically back to normal. Walking is close to back to normal, and public transit is still off about 70%. So those are our 6 high frequency indicators. And what we mean by high frequency is we get new data on these every week. In fact, I think the Apple data is coming on a much more regular basis, but we get a lot of new data on these, and these are updated every week. And if you look year over year on any one of these statistics, it is awful. If you look month over month, it's a little bit better. But if you look week over week, it's actually a lot better. You're seeing, 100% increases week over week. Obviously, yes, from a very, very, very low starting point, but what we saw was a massive fall off, and we're seeing a slow creep back. And that's kind of what we expect. The other thing I wanted to just quickly mention is I wanted to talk about unemployment claims. So unemployment claims, there's sort of three basic ways to look at these. There's lots of different ways, but there's three basic statistics we look at. We look at new claims. This is the weekly new claim data for unemployment. We look at continuing claims, and that is those people that originally claimed unemployment one of those weeks in the past and who are still claiming unemployment. So these are people who are continuing to be unemployed. And then we have total initial claims. So since March 21st, so we saw a big jump in unemployment claims, and that was the first week we saw a big jump in unemployment claims. And since March 21st, our total initial claims have been about a little bit over 30 million claims. Okay. So our total continuing claims is about 22 million. So what we've seen is we've actually seen a lot of people that had initial claims that are actually either back to working, or the businesses they were working for started up again, or they found another job. And that first week on 3/21, we saw a jump to, I don't remember what the number was, 3 million claims. 3/28, it jumped all the way. The initial claims jumped almost to 10 million claims. And since that date, every single week has been better, meaning fewer initial claims and more people becoming reemployed. So that combination is really, really interesting. About 23 million out of a total 36 million are still unemployed. And that's really, that tells us that not just are the TSA and the high frequency indicators picking up, employment's actually becoming less bad. And that it has to become less bad before it can become better. And then just a few other statistics or a few other things to think about. This is coming out of, it's coming out of University of Chicago. They wrote a paper, and very, very interesting. The median replacement rate for income, this is unemployment insurance claims. So 134% of the median lost income has been replaced by unemployment insurance. So what that means is 2/3 of newly unemployed workers are receiving benefits, unemployment benefits, that exceed the lost earnings. Okay, so 2/3 of the newly unemployed are receiving unemployment benefits that exceed the earnings that they've lost.
So making more money now than they were when they were working.
Yeah, and one fifth are receiving at least double their lost earnings. Wow. So 1/5 of those, there's 30 million people who lost their jobs. 1/5 of those, 20% of those, wow. What is that? 6 million people are actually receiving double their lost earnings and unemployment benefits. So when you total it all up, 134%, and this is published May 15th. So this was published just, very, very, very recently, looking at unemployment income data and federal unemployment expenses that have come out from there. So it's very interesting to look at this. And what that points us to is how much the federal government has done to fill the hole. Now, the challenge with the unemployment numbers, the unemployment income numbers, is we do know that it's got 4 months of time. And in 4 months, the federal unemployment benefits are going to go away unless they're extended. I think it's extremely likely they're extended in some kind of reduced factor. And the reason it has to be extended in some reduced factor isn't because we're borrowing too much. It's because there is a massive problem with companies. If our goal is to open things up and go back to work, there's absolutely no reason for people to go back to work. And there's going to be, because, those, at least that 1/5, they're making double what they made working by not working. So why would they even conceive of going back to work? Right. And the whole PPP part of this, so in order for a business to get money from the federal government that is then to pay for payroll, which is then potentially forgiven, they have to have payroll. And so these two things are fighting against each other. And this is a real issue for for hospitality, for restaurants, for retail businesses. They can't bring their people back. And of the businesses that I know and talk to on a regular basis on this, I know that in order to bring people back, they've actually had to meet what they would have been making on unemployment. So people have given raises to their employees so that they could meet what they would have made on unemployment and come back to work, even if they're working remotely, even if they're, not, even if stores aren't open, they're still doing things like pick up at the curbside, or deliveries are happening a lot. So it's just very interesting as these things come forward, the kinds of issues that we're seeing, the competition we're seeing between employers who want to hire people and employees who don't want to go back. And it's kind of it's a big challenge, but it all goes to the slow, steady increase in people working and businesses coming back together. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen slowly, but it's going to happen over the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. On a personal note, all my kids' summer camps are canceled. My 25-year high school reunion was going to be this summer in Rapid City, South Dakota. And, my understanding is these things are usually pretty big and people celebrate and have a good time. They basically said, okay, we're going to have a reservation at a restaurant. It's going to be a 2-hour thing. And that's all it's going to be. We're not going to do anything, there's nothing special for our 25-year high school reunion. And frankly, I'm probably not going to go back for it because I don't want to get on a plane and then go and stay with my parents in Rapid City, and give them whatever I get on the plane. We're all going to make these decisions slowly, individually.
Are you sure it's 25 years and not 30?
25 years? Yeah.
It's 25, not 30.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. I thought we're the same age, and I had my 30th. That's why I'm asking. 2020 minus 1989.
I was 1990. So yeah, you're right. It's 30 year.
We're being transparent.
Wow, it's 30 year. I lost 5 years of my life there. Okay. Holy cow. All right. So with that as a oops. Yeah. Scott, do you have anything to add to things opening up? You have a pretty good handle on this as well. It's fun talking about it last time.
I mean, there's just a lot of really interesting things happening. And one of the things that happened to me for the first time this weekend, my wife and I decided to go biking. And so we went to Sports Basement, and there's a lot of people out biking. Everyone's, social distancing and whatnot. There's a lot more people out than I remember a month ago. But so Sports Basement is closed as a company. You can't go in there and shop. It's all marked, it's all blocked off. But you can go in and get bike repair and bike supplies and rent bikes. That's all they're doing right now. The reason why I'm bringing this up was what they did to us before we walked in the store. Never happened to me before. They took a special gun, put it to my forehead, and took my temperature. And I just think that's the kind of stuff we're going to have to start getting used to, right? Whether it's on an airplane or TSA, at Disney World, Disneyland. It's found it really interesting. And I think people are being a lot more safe and cautious today than they were 2 months ago, which I think will help us continue to get out of this thing, So I'm still extremely optimistic, although, my roots are from New York and they still haven't really gotten together over there. And I wish they would.
Yeah, truly. I think David skipped it today. He usually has a political conversation he adds, but I think he's not here today. So I want to actually open it up and make sure that people know the two ways to ask questions. If you want to ask a question, is to either look in the chat box. That's usually pretty easy, and then there's also a Q&A that you can actually pump a question into if you have a question. John, do you have anything you want to add? Is John at his desk, or is he might just be on?
When he does come
for safety, I muted myself twice. I forgot to unmute the other one. Anyway, the big news this week is we're entering phase 2 of, the shelter in place. And, so what that means is that, retail stores are going to be allowed to reopen, for curbside, though. Child care can reopen, But again, it's at the probably discretion of the providers out there. Manufacturing can reopen. But, I think it's going to be, even though people are going to be allowed to do this, for instance, on Solano Avenue, Pegasus Books, they're going to be allowed to do curbside. I mean, how much are they going to do it? And how much action business are they going to see, from people saying, oh, hey, can I get a copy of, so-and-so's latest book? So who knows? And then later on in phase 2, they're going to actually then allow people to go into the stores. And later on in phase 2, whenever that is, restaurants can reopen, and supposedly schools. And we'll see if that really happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, the school one, that's hard. That one I don't know about, but yeah, and I know that the game store, he's been doing deliveries for this whole time, so he has not done curbside pickup. But there's been a lot of people that have done it, even though it hasn't been legal. But now it's going to be legal. He's opening up for curbside, and he's actually really looking forward to having customers come to the store, whether they can't go in, but customers come to the store. He's going to like that. But he's actually been driving around all over the place, delivering games and magic cards and whatever else people are asking for. He's had like 14 deliveries a day for, we took one day off, but 14 orders and deliveries a day for the last month and a half, which has basically kept the game store alive. It would have probably gone under without that. And he did get PPP money, and he did get a loan. A sizable loan, actually, a surprising loan from the SBA, which was helpful. So I know Scott actually asked this question, or asked us to talk about some real estate and that kind of thing. I'd like to say, John, do you want to comment on Sherry's activity right now and what she's seeing happening?
What you're hearing, yeah, it'd be great to hear.
Well, so, with the shelter in place, there are a couple of things were going on. There's the county level, but then there's the city of Berkeley. And the way this, and I'll get to the real estate in a moment though, but the way this all rolls out is the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, can say, this is what we want to do. Then it's up to the individual counties to go along with that. And then after that, it's up to the city of Berkeley, because we have our own health department. So in real estate, things were gradually relaxed to the point that Alameda County said, oh, you can now stage houses. And what that means is, when people move out, they take all their stuff with them. Now you have to prepare the house for market, and you stage it so it looks like, there's furniture in there. Well, the city of Berkeley said, no, we're not going to allow staging. So here you had the county saying staging is allowed, but the city of Berkeley said no. Well, that lasted for about 2 weeks, and then mid last week they said, okay, staging is allowed. So Sherry has two. She has going to have 2 listings coming on the market in June, both here in Berkeley. So there was a sigh of relief in that she will be able to stage these houses. Now, in terms of what's going on, there is pent up demand. There are people that want to buy. And obviously, she's got 2 listings coming on. There are people that want to sell. Are prices coming down? No. And so I'm not going to say that it's activity is the same as it was prior to the pandemic, but prices are not going down.
John, do you know what in her last couple properties that she sold in the last couple months, Do you know if there was sort of a bidding situation or if they went kind of close to asking?
So interesting. She sold she represented the buyer who purchased a home on the Arlington here in Berkeley. And so the property was a little bit unique, and it wouldn't appeal to all different types of people and family. So in this particular case, there were only 2 bids on it, and her bid won. So that enters in a whole other thing. Just because there's a property that's on the market, not all properties get multiple offers. For instance, if there's a house that has 30 steps up to it, and maybe it doesn't have a great garage, that's not going to work for a family with young children. So I don't know if that answers the question, but overall, yeah, and there have been, not that she's been involved in, but there have been multiple offers, up to like before, 10, 12 offers.
Please come back to us with these other properties and let us know how it goes. I'm really curious because there's a lot of information flying around. I had a conversation with someone yesterday who's not a realtor or a lender, but just has lots of opinions. And his opinion is there's tons of supply. They're all going to come down in price. And it sounds to me like his version of this is totally inaccurate.
Well, there's not a ton of supply in Berkeley, Albany, Richmond, El Cerrito, or Oakland. There is not a ton of supply.
I think building up to this, the whole housing issue has been a real big issue for years and years and years and years. We just don't have enough houses. I think this will be a lot more interesting in the commercial real estate space come, 6 months, year, 2 years. And I'm hearing a lot of folks that are business owners who are leasing space, and they're arguing with their landlords about. So there's a moratorium on evictions of businesses as well as individuals, and so and I know people have said we're just not going to pay rent right now, and so they haven't paid rent, and they're negotiating how they're going to pay that rent back. Is it going to be tacked on to the end of the lease? Is it some kind of a loan that they're actually taking out from the landlord? What does this look like? But I cannot imagine that commercial real estate is not affected by this long term. I mean, I think housing is fine. I think commercial real estate is a different matter here.
Yeah, it just came out that WeWork, which at one point was valued at $47 billion a couple of years ago, SoftBank just repriced it and revalued it at $2.7 billion, I think over the weekend or this morning.
Yeah.
So, how the mighty have fallen. They literally, their business model flew in the face of everything you're talking about and the issues that commercial real estate's going to have. Going forward.
It's almost like they were a little too early, because I think the business model might actually be, instead of leasing my own space and having 10 offices, why not just have one WeWork and have 2 offices, because then I can so I think it may come around, but not to the size that they were. And I think
have to reconstruct them and reconfigure them like with cubes, like old school.
Yeah,
to happen there. Yeah.
I mean, and then we have to look forward to a point where between now and then, every time we go to an office or go to a store, they're going to, put the thermometer to our heads and make sure we're healthy before they can come in. But there's a point 6 months, 9 months, 10 months from now where we have a vaccine, 11, 12 months, whatever it is, where we have a vaccine. And so the thing that blew me away last week, we didn't actually talk about this earlier, was when I saw the statistics for retail spending was off 17%. Now just think about that for a second. That's the worst negative since Great Depression. I mean, that's a horrible number, but it's 17%. That means 83% of our spending on retail stuff is still there. We're still spending 83%.
Right. It's remarkable, actually.
It's amazing that we're able to do that. And maybe some of that's the federal money that's passing through, but they're gonna come up with another thing. They're gonna extend that at some level. There's still all kinds of fallout from this, all kinds of health crises, all kinds of small businesses are not going to make it. This is all real.
Yeah.
But
well, and there could be some big national chain stores, brick and mortar retail stores that may go under or restructure. I mean, Nordstrom's, there's a lot of stores that they're closing. I think it's in the teens.
Yep.
J. Crew is filing.
Yep.
And so a lot of, you're right with the commercial real estate. If these people that own malls or whatnot, they're and the retailers are suffering because not everybody buys online.
Right.
So yeah, will there be renegotiate there on their leases to keep them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a cascade here, right? So a business in a mall isn't open, can't sell widgets, can't make money, can't pay their rent. So the landlord, the mall owner, of which there are a few really big national landowners that own malls all across the country, and so they can't pay their mortgage, or they can't, the debt load that they have, they can't meet with their rent payments because they're not getting rent payments. But what ends up with that is you end up with, that ends up on the banks. Whoever's loaned them money, they have to refinance it, or they have to, and so just wait. This is what's going to happen. It's kind of already happening a little bit, but this will get louder. They will say, okay, well, we're going to do a bank bailout, and there's going to be more money going to the banks because that's who ultimately doesn't get paid because of these loans that aren't getting met. The payments aren't going to get met. And we said this in I think the second or third call we did here, is there's a massive hole, and the federal government is going to ultimately fill a huge percentage of that hole. I saw somebody said something like that. Without the federal stimulus effort, the congressional and the Fed, we would have seen 60% decline in not just in economic activity total. That is huge. That is enormous.
Yeah.
I've got someone poking in their head in from behind me here.
Another attendee.
Another attendee. Hi, Annie. But because of that federal money that came in, it's actually only about a 15% decline. So that is a huge backfill that's there to support the economy, and it's supporting individuals. It's supporting renters. It's supporting banks. It's supporting all kinds of people, and that's ultimately, we have more of that until we get going, and that's how we pay. And then we deal with the fallout from that later. And there's Reinhardt and Rogoff, who are Harvard economists, and basically they're the ones that said that once the national debt gets to be 100% of GDP, you have a problem. And after this year, it's going to be over 100% of GDP. So they're out this morning or yesterday talking about how this is really, really bad long term. But they were wrong when we talked about it in 2008. And this whole idea of potential inflation is a real issue. It's horrible if we have an inflationary environment. But again, I just don't think the levers are working the way everyone anticipates them to work, and we'll have to wait and see some of this.
So there's a question here. Going back to house sales, do issues of viral transmission come up? And if so, how are they addressed?
Oh, well, there's the California Department of Real Estate Agents, or whatever it's called. There are protocols there. For instance, there's only 3 people can go into a house: the agent and 2 other people, husband, wife, whatever kind of couple you're dealing with. So grandma, grandpa, the parents, the kids, they can't go in. Just the agent plus 2. There's a time limit. You can't spend more than half an hour in the house. There are disclosures that need to be disseminated to people and signed, and there needs to be agreement from all parties, on how to show this property. So it's more hoops to jump through, and people. It's going to be by appointment. So you're not going to have clusters of people standing around waiting half an hour for their term to get in. It's going to have to be scheduled. Otherwise, you're going to have, this big gathering. I mean, some of these open houses can between the neighbors that want to see what their neighbor's house looked like, and other people that just like going to open houses, you can't have these throngs of people.
Right.
Yeah. You see the follow-up there? It says, is there a protocol for the cleaning of the houses between visits?
There is. I know that there is. I can't speak to it because I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. But there is.
So I forgot we did this, but so Maggie and I went this weekend to Waterline in Point Richard. We keep looking at this property, which is on the water, views of the city, et cetera, et cetera. We had to make a very specific appointment. We looked at 4 different properties in the development. We all had masks, and she was wiping down everything we touched. They didn't want us touching a whole lot, but if we went into a garage, that was wiped down before and after. And to John's point, there's, I'm sure, very, very rigorous protocols in place, for something like this. But it's a different, I'm not running to do 20 of these because it wasn't as much fun being kind of gagged with a mask. But at the same time, the good news is this is very different than 2 months ago. This stuff is starting to happen again, little by little. And that's just all we want is a little bit of progress each week, each month. And that's what we're having, which is, I think, great stuff.
And so and you see some of this in articles, if you read deeply enough, that one of the big questions is the liability question. Let's say you do go through a house and you do end up catching coronavirus because of a house. Who's responsible for that? If there's a death involved, what does that mean? And then this is also true of every small business that wants to open up again. If they put processes in place and they put protocols in place for cleaning off the restaurant tables, and yet somebody gets sick going into a restaurant, whose responsibility is that? Who's liable for that? And these are questions that we're going to hear more about the more we open up and the more people we see are active in all aspects of our economy. If you go to a retail store and you catch it there, it's going to be a very, very, very interesting, very, very, very slow process. But it's going to be like a snowball. It's going to pick up speed and pick up steam, and the further it goes, the faster it's going to go. And there's going to be all kinds of pressure from all walks of life on making this happen. I'm kind of really glad that we live in California and that we're taking this really, really slowly. And I'm kind of glad that Berkeley said, let's wait a couple more weeks before we do this. And I just think that, you see all the new numbers on new infections, and you realize those numbers, the new infections you're seeing are people that were infected a couple of weeks ago, right? And now they're getting tested. Now they're going to the hospital, or now they're going to the clinic or whatever, and you're getting a test. But this is still out there. It's still very live. It's still something it's really something to be careful about. And let's be careful. But I know that I'm in a position, I think most everyone on the call are in such a position that we are so lucky that we can do things like order food, have it delivered, and work from home. And there are people that, I told a story about this. I don't remember where I told the story, but a really, really, really old close friend of mine who lost his job because the restaurant closed down. He's had a problem with alcohol for years and years and years. He's not alive anymore. Because he kind of drank himself to death when he couldn't go to work. He was fine as long as he was working. You take away work, and there's other issues here. Sure. And it's just something we have to be aware of. And we're so lucky to be able to say, well, let's open up, or we're so lucky to be able to say, I don't need it to open up. I can stay at home and I'm relatively happy. I'm going crazy, and now some little vole or mole or somebody has destroyed my garden. The only thing I have left is kale, which is upsetting. I had great lettuce, I had great spinach, we had carrots, all gone. Some sort of, animal got most everything. They left the kale though, so that's good. But yeah, we just got to be careful and keep moving forward and watch this as it unfolds. Yeah. I don't see any other questions. John, do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, I think that people across the country are getting fidgety about this. I talked to I have one daughter that lives in Queens, right outside of New York City. There, like here, you are allowed to get takeout from restaurants. You can get cocktails to go. Well, the weather was so beautiful this past weekend that many neighborhoods, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, it was turning into street parties. People were going to restaurants, getting takeout, getting their cocktail to go, and then just hanging out in the street, eating and drinking, and then going back for more. The idea is to go home with this stuff, but that wasn't happening. And then there was a beach in New Jersey that was just totally thronged with people. So, things are in place, but that doesn't mean that the populace is going to obey all the rules. And there was an article in Vanity Fair where some reporter that covers Wall Street was talking to three, big Wall Street exec types. And they are of the opinion that, pretty soon, they didn't have a date, but maybe July, we're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off. And people are going to have to be responsible. There should be clear rules in place regarding restaurants, bars, movies, you name it, malls, wear masks, gloves, whatever it is. But these people are saying it's time to get moving, and vaccine or not. So there's people out there thinking that way.
And this whole idea of, and this you've heard this often, people arguing about, you can't take this right away from me, but yeah, you can. With rights come responsibilities, and that's the thing, is we have to keep our distance and wear our freaking masks. That cuts down on so much potential infection. Like 75% of potential infection goes away if you stay 6 feet away and wear a freaking mask. It's just so easy. Let's just do that. How about Scott? You have anything you want to add?
Yeah, just one quick thing that happened over the weekend. Speaking to this, what our business is going to do. So one of our newer clients is an attorney, and he just sent through the ABC for alcohol, et cetera, et cetera. They're creating a new license, an expanded license, which is going to allow you to include parking lots, sidewalks, adjacent indoor rooms. So they're creating this opportunity for these businesses to actually serve in different ways than they did just 60 days ago. And it's a temporary license. The permit will be removed once this COVID-19 temporary catering authorization program goes away. This literally came out over the weekend, and Jordan sent it to us. And it's actually kind of exciting because it speaks to the people hanging outside of a to-go restaurant bar, hanging out having drinks. If we set up in a way that it's safe and a way that people can enjoy it, which I think this is what this is aiming at, there is a road to something else. So, they must serve full meals. It's just very interesting. We're all, as a society and as a government, trying to reinvent, how we do things. I'm not in love with the new normal. People keep saying that. I just not my favorite buzzword. But we're gonna supplement and complement what we already did with different ways of doing things, and I think that's really exciting.
So this weekend.
Well, and the thing is, we're going to have choice. If they open up, like they were talking about the streets here in Berkeley near restaurants, so that they can serve outside, right? And there'll be physical distancing. Mm-hmm. And as patrons, of course, you can't eat with a face mask on, but the servers will have on face masks. It's your choice as a consumer whether or not you want to do that.
Right.
No one's forcing you to, pull up a table and chair in the BART Plaza and, eat a slice of sliver pizza out there. But if they make it available and they open up Solano Avenue and other places, it's your choice to do that.
That's right.
I think that we're going to see, as somebody's eating that piece of sliver pizza, someone 2 tables away is going to sneeze, we're going to see a lot of thrown away food.
That's why you won't see me on Solano Avenue
No.
at a table. I guarantee it.
Yeah, me either. So I just have to, one quick story, and then we gotta close it. But over the weekend, I've been complaining, my hair, I'm either going to shave it off or I'm going to grow a ponytail. And Annie, who's 12, said, I'll cut your hair. I was like, all right, let's do it. And she did a fantastic job. Like it's like,
she did.
It's like professional. I'm so excited.
Did you tip her?
What's that?
Did you give her a tip?
I didn't, but I should have.
Of course you should have.
I should have. I will. That's a good idea. And if I can get Eli to come and play music for us here one night, we'll tip him as well. That's a good idea.
Okay.
All right. I think that's it for the questions. We will not be here next Monday. Next Monday is a holiday, and we're going to go to doing this every other Monday. But you can look for that, and we'll keep sending out the same set of emails so that people are aware of what events and what's coming up. So we're gonna keep doing this every other Monday, and if something new and horrendous happens, we'll pick it up and do it every week again. We're just trying to be here so we can answer questions and are available as people might need us. And as always, you can always reach out and call into the office and chat with us, and we'll be there. All right. Yes. Thanks everybody.
Thank you.
See you, Scott. Thanks, John.
Bye bye.